Cup of Joe with Grandpa Dez. Hey, Jim. How you doing?
Hello. Good, man. How are you?
I'm excellent. I'm excellent. So I normally will say, oh, how you been? Haven't seen you in a long time, but we just finished recording a show together. But that was
Good.
actually the first time that I've ever seen you face to face. Still yet to meet you in person, but we'll take care of that in Vegas. What's the championship belt you got there?
This is a. I had this made. This is just a
Okay.
replica.
Is
It's a
this your King of
cheaper.
Recovery belt?
I wish I should have got one of those.
Yeah.
Maybe I'll make one.
Maybe we'll
I.
buy you one.
This is a replica
Okay.
of the 1985 Pacific Northwest Heavyweight Championship.
So who would be the main guy associated with that version of that belt?
Probably the grappler.
Okay, Len Denton.
Len Denton.
Yeah.
Steve Dahl, Crush.
Okay.
Billy Mack hold this version. Probably did. Yeah, Rip Oliver.
Okay.
This came in 1985.
Okay.
Um, so this is what, because when you see it looks like a Hogan 84. The
Mhm.
reason I like it is it's got the totem Indian styling, so it looks different than a lot of the belts of this style. It's got a different eagle. It's got some markings here of the Northwest. You can see like the logging. Oops, there we go. See the logging there? It's kind of
Yeah.
bright. There we go. And then the Idaho and Washington. So I just like it because it's different, but it's the shape and the style that I like. The one thing I don't like about it, which is accurate to what they did, is if you look at like the Hogan 84 or the TV title, the legs for the feet for the Eagles are right here. So it's got double feet. And I always hate
Okay.
that design. But that's accurate. That's the way it is in real life. But they put two sets of feet on it. So,
Still like super sharp though,
yeah, I think it's very cool.
and it
I
looks
like it.
nice.
I
Uh,
love this belt design. I've always been a fan of this belt. Um, a lot of people like the World TV title that looks like this, but I don't like that belt because on the sides here, it's got like old time movie cameras, and
that's awesome.
I think those look stupid.
I
So I
know, but I
like
love
this
what
belt.
you've got there with the
Yeah,
grappling. Yeah.
yeah, I like this belt.
Yeah.
So this,
This is mine. You see this? This is from WrestleMania
yes.
weekend. Emily
Oh
is
my
the
God,
champion. We
what a
got
great weekend.
It was. And that picture, I don't know if you saw, but we were waiting for the elevator to get out of the stadium, and a guy comes up to us and he's holding that belt and he says, "I want your daughter to have a picture with this belt." And then so we took the picture, and then she said, "She reminds me of my daughter. My daughter has special
Oh,
needs." And so that was awesome. She had just the time of her life. We all did. But yeah, it's something that everybody's got to do. If you're a wrestling fan, you got to go to WrestleMania at least once.
let me tell you a story.
Yeah, do that.
Um, there was that time last year, about a year ago, on Twitter when I was showed a picture of me at physical therapy getting ready, and I go getting ready, getting in shape for Tokyo.
Yeah, I remember that.
And I went to bed. I took a nap because I was tired after physical therapy, and I get up, and my phone is just blown up. I'm like, what in the heck happened? What was so great about that tweet? And Tony Khan
Yeah.
had responded and said, well, you look like you're in shape for Jacksonville, for Daly's place.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, I love that.
And and just by coincidence, we were going down to Florida anyway. So it was cheaper actually for us to change flights and fly into Jacksonville. My wife was doing something for work and I was going with her. So he flew into Jacksonville early, went to um, Blood and Guts at Daly's place. And we
Right.
went we went backstage. Tony invited us backstage. We met Cody and Chris Jericho, who donated. They were very nice. Tony was very nice. But, I was probably about 30 pounds lighter than I am now. And I'm about 160. So I was
Mm.
about 130 pounds. And I could walk. I was out of my AFOs, like your daughter had.
Yeah, when you mentioned you had AFOs, I was like, "Oh my god, I'm blown away." I had no idea.
Yeah. So I had AFOs, and they weren't as nice as your daughter colors. Mine were just black. Boring. Anyway, I had just gotten out of those, but I had a wheelchair just in case for long distances.
Yeah.
We took it to a theme park and things. I could walk, but I would get tired after a while. And we had never been to Daly's place, didn't know the layout of the land. So to be safe, we brought the wheelchair just in case.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm backstage looking to find Tony and everybody backstage, Chris Jericho, and I'm in the wheelchair.
Yeah.
And so I probably don't look the healthiest, and I'm in the wheelchair. So a lot of the wrestlers often see people, Make-A-Wish kids, special needs people whose dream it is to meet wrestlers. So
like
naturally, so naturally they assume, rightfully so, that that's why I was there. And it's kind of funny. It is funny. But also on the other side, Dustin Rhodes sees me. And Dustin comes right up to me. Hey, buddy, what's your name? Jim. It's nice to meet. I'm like, he could not have been nicer. Same thing with Vicky Guerrero. And it's a funny story, but it also speaks to their character and how nice they are and how it's another day at the office for Dustin Rhodes and Vicky Guerrero and all of the WWE superstars as well that your daughter met, that they want to take those moments and make it special for people. It speaks to their character. I mean, they're busy. They're busy as all hell.
Yeah.
And they took the time, WrestleMania, to do that for your daughter. They took the time because they thought about me, that I looked like hell. And, they probably thought, this guy's got a week left. We better go and say hi to this guy. But it goes to speak how nice they are to their credit.
So I a similar story to tell you. When we were at Mania, night one went great. My daughter, she was there to see Becky. She was sad that she lost, but she was, she loved the show. As the main event is getting ready to start, we had great seats that Becky had got us at Mania, and so we were behind the floor section, but it was the shortest section, so maybe 10 rows, and we were just behind that, but up on risers, so we had a perfect view of the ring. But before the main event segment with Stone Cold, all of a sudden, all the WWE officials, all the stadium event people are out with their cell phones. They want to capture this on video, right? So they're there and they're completely blocking our view. So we said, well, if we want to see this, we're gonna have to go down onto where they are. So we go down there, and then as soon as Stone Cold comes out, the place just explodes. And Emily got really upset. We just couldn't deal with it. So
it's too loud.
Yeah, and it was sustained. Like the initial pops, even the fireworks she was doing good with, the pyro, but the sustained pop of that Stone Cold, when they announced he was going to have a match, the place just went crazy, and we had to leave. So we completely missed the Stone Cold match. We were in our car by the time the match was over. Nice thing is we beat traffic, but I didn't get to see the match. So the next night, she did not have as good of a night. Just anytime anything happened, I think she was getting flashbacks, whatever. So there was a quiet area behind where we were sitting, and we'd have to take her out there about every half hour. And most of the time, my other daughter was taking her because she's not a wrestling fan. But at one point, I took her because I think it was in the Sami Zayn Johnny Knoxville match, and she really wanted to see that. So we're back there, and as we're heading back to the ring, all of a sudden, coming through the area that we walked to get to where our seats were, there's this big entourage of people, and Pat McAfee's in the middle of it. I guess he was leaving commentary to go get ready for his match. He sees us, and he stops. And everyone's like trying to rush him, and he stops, and he looks at Emily. He says, "I hope you guys are enjoying the show. I hope you're having a great night." And I was, I just said, "Hey, thanks a lot, man. Have a great match." And he's like, "Thank you so much." And then they leave. And for him to take the time to do that, even
he's on the way to a WrestleMania main event.
Yeah,
one of the biggest moments of his life.
His dream, right? And he took the time to do that.
Wow.
And yeah, and and Mandy Rose, like stopping to talk to her for like 10 minutes in the lobby. Not just, can I get a picture? And
Right.
they get that a lot, but they were taking time to sit and talk. And Emily's nonverbal. So they're judging her reactions, and you can see from the pictures how much she enjoyed. And you can
Yeah.
actually see in some cases where she's looking at them like, I don't even know who you are. But the ones that she really liked, she really liked.
Well, heck,
So
you got a picture with Trish, Lita, and Becky. I mean,
yeah,
if
that one,
seriously,
that
what is
one
that?
that
That'd be like $300 at a fan fest.
that one was so crazy because we were there to meet Becky, and then all of a sudden Trish and Lita were just walking by, and they were like, "Oh, we want to get in this picture." And then so we're taking all these pictures, and then all of a sudden Trish is like, "I want to get one of your whole family." So
Yes.
like I get in there, and my other daughter gets in there, and Trish hands her phone to the WWE rep to get a picture. I didn't even get a picture of this. And then afterwards, my daughter's like, some wrestler's walking around with a picture of me on her phone. And then so I ended up getting in contact with the WWE official to get a copy of this picture. And I ended up posting it later. But Trish just wanted this for herself. Like she didn't tweet it or anything. Like she just wanted a memory for herself.
Trish
Because I
is
think
great.
I think for them, like that's a nice part of the job, to meet people and to interact, and with good people. Like there's some people, that maybe they're going to go get a picture, they're going to get a belt signed, and then they're going to go sell it. Like I
Right.
think they can tell when it's pure. And in this case, like we got one item signed, and that was Emily's AFOs, and we ain't never selling those.
Right.
We get offered, like $1,000 for those. They're not going anywhere. Like that's a memory she's going to have for the rest of her life. you know
No,
uh,
that's great.
yeah.
Trish was at Cauliflower Alley when they gave her the Mike Mazurki Award. First woman
Oh,
ever to get the Mike Mazurki
was that
Award.
the same year you got yours, or?
No, no, I got mine
Okay.
last year.
Okay, I wasn't sure when it
Um,
was.
anyway, this was a few years ago. And God, what a great speech talking about growing up and wrestling with her family and, as a little kid and, the different figures. And, it was so great to hear, a fan's perspective from Trish Stratus, talking about things that she probably wouldn't necessarily be able to talk about, in a WWE setting. It was great.
So you brought up in passing just a few minutes ago about how you guys go to amusement parks. That's one thing I definitely wanted to talk to you about, because you
Oh,
and
sure.
Carrie, your wife Carrie, who
She's the
is,
best.
yeah, I'm friends with her on Facebook, and she's amazing. And when you were
She
going through,
loved the pictures of Emily. Oh my gosh.
oh, awesome. Well, and she was supportive, like through stuff. My oldest daughter, you can see actually. Mm. Right behind me there, right in the middle in that family picture. That's
Oh
the
yeah.
one that had the health issues last year, where she
Right.
was in the hospital. She had internal bleeding, and Carrie was, and that was right in the middle of when you were going through your stuff, and she was being supportive of me, which I thought was just amazing.
She's the best.
She is. But you guys like to go to amusement parks. You've talked
Yes.
about this before, and all over the world, right?
We've been to every Disney theme park in the world
Wow. So
a couple times.
we've just been to Disney World. And a week there, and you feel like you need another week, but you've
Right.
been to, there's one, Paris, Tokyo.
Hong
Um
Kong and
oh,
Shanghai.
wow. Okay. So how are the other ones compared to Florida?
Tokyo is there's a Tokyo's great.
Mhm.
It's got a old school Tomorrowland with kind of the white and
It's a
kind of
small
thing,
world.
kind of retro. Across the street, there's a sister park to Tokyo, and it's called Tokyo Disney Sea,
Okay.
SEA, and it's based on 7 lakes, 7 bodies of water inside the park, and it is the most detailed, incredible theme park in the world. And it
Wow.
must be seen to be believed, and that's my favorite place to go. I love most every year, except for the last year, when I go to Wrestle Kingdom. Afterwards, I'll go to Tokyo, and I think it was 2019. I went, and I went to Wrestle Kingdom. Afterwards, went to Tokyo Disneyland by myself. My wife saw all the pictures and video,
Oh,
and
I'm yeah.
she was like, "Can we go again?" And so a month later, she and I went to Tokyo Disneyland because she wanted to go and see the parade and all the stuff that I had seen.
So that was the year before
before 2020.
You and Uncle Dave brought COVID back to the United States. Or
Yes,
okay,
yeah.
okay, yeah,
When I was patient 01.
yeah, yeah,
Correct.
yeah. Okay, that's on my bucket list. I want to go to
You want to
Tokyo
do that?
someday.
There's a okay. Here's a theme park that you need to do.
Okay,
It's
writing this
fairly
down.
new, and it opened up in 2018. Was really kind of getting going. When did we go in 18? We went, I forget. Anyway, it's called Warner Brothers World,
Okay.
and it's in Abu Dhabi.
Oh my.
So you fly into Dubai, drive to Abu Dhabi. You do Ferrari World with the world's fastest roller coaster. There's some okay stuff over there, some good roller coasters. But the all-day park is called Warner Brothers World. It's an indoor park. It's like 7 Costco's or 7 IKEAs, building wise,
Yeah.
put together. It's human. It's all indoors, and it's all incredibly detailed. They've got a Looney Tunes area, like a Roadrunner area that looks like you're in Roadrunner. It's
Mhm.
got a Flintstones Splash
Oh
Mountain
man,
style ride
that's right
that
up my
is
alley.
incredible. It's got a Scooby Doo dark ride that looks like you're in the Scooby Doo cartoons. It's like there's 3 different choices that you can ride in the Scooby Doo. So there's 3 different ghosts from the cartoons you remember. It
Wow.
is incredible. There's a Batman ride, not a stupid Batman roller coaster.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
That's just a roller coaster with a Batman logo on it. It's a dark ride, and it's
Okay.
great. There's a Justice League ride. There's a Hulk ride. There's, I think, a Green Lantern ride.
My.
They do all of these DC properties right, and it's fantastic. There's a Gotham City that's dark with Wayne Enterprise. It's
Wow.
fantastic. Go spend at least one day there and go half a day plus or minus, unless if you're way into cars and Ferraris, then a whole Ferrari. But Ferrari World's got some pretty good roller coasters, but on a slow day, you can knock that out in a few hours. But you do want to ride the world's fastest roller coaster. Do that. That's great. But everything, and then there's a few other
That's in the
good roller
Ferrari
coasters.
one? The
Ferrari.
okay. And how long of a flight is Abu Dhabi? Like 12 hours?
No, it's like 8.
Oh, that's not too bad. I
But
mean,
no,
that's
fly into Dubai, see all the crazy malls,
yeah, yeah,
all the feel super poor when you go there
yeah.
because everybody's, everybody there's like a rich mall and then there's a rich section of the rich mall. It's
Oh,
crazy.
it's
And
like
then go to there's a place called Dragon Mart, which is um it's like a Chinese knockoff mall. Like everything is a knockoff. And you can
like
buy
Tijuana.
like high-end Tijuana.
Okay, okay.
It's more like if AliExpress was a mall, it would be Dragon.
Okay.
So
And
go and do that.
that's and for me, like I've always kind of wanted to see a UFC in Abu Dhabi because they do a
We
lot of big
went,
shows there.
we were there flying in right as that was getting over.
Okay.
But the last UFC in Abu Dhabi was getting over. So they were staying at the hotel right across the street from us.
Yeah.
So we didn't go over there and bug anybody, but we could see, you know, UFC people getting into their SUVs and stuff and leaving.
I almost forgot to put this up.
Oh yeah.
The plugs. Yeah, that's something. I mean, it'll
So
cost, but we're getting into the
go.
age now where we've been saving money our whole lives, and I want to start
Yeah.
spending it. You know what I
My
mean?
wife is literally the best travel agent in the world.
Okay.
Talk to her.
Okay.
The other
Really?
thing
Okay. Cool.
I would also, if you like theme parks, I would recommend there are 2 other ones. There's in Germany, there's one called Fantasia Land. A lot of great rides, a lot of fantastic roller coasters, some fun dark rides. And then there is another one.
You can go to Germany and have a tip of brew with Oliver Kopp.
You could do that.
Yeah, and then go to Fantasia Land.
Go to Phantasialand. That's a fantastic park. My favorite roller coaster in the world is there.
Okay.
So I recommend Phantasialand highly. And then what's the other one? It's my memory is shot. Being sick is ruined my
You know what?
Efteling. Efteling. E F
Efteling.
T E L I N G. Efteling. And it's got
Where's that? Is that in Germany too?
no, that's in the Netherlands.
Netherlands. Oh, my wife's always wanted to go to Netherlands, so
So
her
yeah,
family's from there.
so yeah, you want to go there. And it is the coolest, most creative theme park. It's probably the oldest theme park. You know, a lot of ideas probably from Paris Disneyland to Disneyland came from Efteling.
Nice.
Efteling is great. It's fantastic. So detailed, very a different way of looking at things.
So okay, so I'm glad we talked about that because you gave me a lot of fantastic ideas, and we definitely in the next 10 years, we're both in our 50s now. So
Do it now.
yeah, because I mean, by the time you get on the other side of 60, you're almost getting too old to enjoy this stuff. So if I live that long.
I'm not even that, and I'm getting that way. So
Well, that's the thing. Like
kind of glad.
my dad passed away at 60, my grandpa at 49. Like I'm thinking I'm on borrowed time already. So I kind of want to start living a bit,
It sounds macabre, but
It
that's not a
does.
wrong way to think.
Well, I mean, however we look at it, we're definitely on the back end. I mean, not too many people live to be 100. So,
You
um,
know, our generation right now, when people are kind of passing away in like early 80s, it
yeah,
wouldn't surprise me. Our generation could live to see 90-ish on
yeah.
average, maybe, but not for me. No, that's not happening.
Well, and see, and for me, like I didn't expect to hit 50. So like I said, I feel like I'm living on borrowed time. But then my wife, and we talked a little bit about this off air. She's had some recent medical issues.
Yeah,
She's got one side of her family where there's a history of heart attacks and some early deaths. Whereas the other side is all like her grandma lived to be 101. Her grandpa was like 97.
yeah.
Her mom is still around and she's like, in her late 70s. So, and her dad too. So, I mean, it looks good on that end. Whereas for me, like both sets of parents are gone and, and I just feel like I'm living on borrowed time at this point, but I'm having fun. I'm honestly living the best life I ever have.
That's all you can do.
And it sounds like you are too.
I'm trying.
You're the king of recovery, the
Yeah.
king of F and recovery. What are you, 5-0 or 6-0 now?
I'm 6-0 against him.
6-0. Okay. I think
Yeah,
I've lost track at this point.
a lot of people have.
Yeah. Yeah. Because I
I
mean,
lost track.
there was some times, when, like we thought, okay, everything's looking great. And then all of a sudden we don't hear from you for a little while. And then we hear, okay, things aren't so great. But,
Yeah,
you've been, you're back doing the radio show. You're here on video with me. I watched your show with Garrett that
yeah.
you did on Fight Game Media, which cheap plug here, which is another people where I get a tiny stipend. This I do for fun. I get to meet a lot of cool people like you, and I've had Dave Meltzer, Brian Alvarez on this show, and Cole Cabana. So I always look forward to. I don't
Nice.
know. Well, the guy I got, my next guest after this is a guy that I've never actually met, never even spoken to, which was like you until today. Robert Silva. I don't know if you know him, but he's a big boxing guy.
Oh
Very,
yeah, yeah,
very entertaining, like a Stephen A. Smith.
yeah.
I would say a poor man's, but I think he's better. So yeah, I'm really looking forward to that one. And I was looking forward to this. And I thank you so much for taking the
Oh,
time.
it's my pleasure.
Yeah, well, I'm glad you're looking good. And I was really happy. You're back doing the show on the weekends. Now, are you
Yeah,
doing video for that too?
I've tried. I don't have
Okay.
a video producer yet,
Yeah.
so I put it up on my own personal YouTube channel just to kind of
Yeah.
practice a little bit to make sure I don't, pick my nose too
They got
much. Or
some, well, they have pretty
I'm a
high
little
production
jumpy.
standards there. For me, like if you go back and watch some of my earlier shows, like it looks bad. Like it looks way better now. And honestly, I'm not super happy with tonight because I have
Harmonica.
one of my lights like look at this, like, but I think I need to change the batteries because it's going every once in a while. So it
Oh
goes like
yeah, look at
this.
that.
Yeah. So this
And
one's
the
good.
cops outside.
Yeah,
Looks
no.
like this.
And if I record during the day, I've got a window right there. So I mean, I don't even need the lights. But and this is for me, like I got a like kind of a little studio, and
Sure.
I actually got in trouble. I had a meeting, a high level meeting at my day job the other day, and I'm talking to my boss ahead of time, and we were doing a video call, and she's like, "You have a meeting in like half an hour," and I was like, "Yeah," and she says, "You got to change your shirt." I'm wearing like an Owen Hart t-shirt, and at the time, and I'm like, "Oh, okay. I didn't know that was a problem." She's like, "Yeah, you can't, you got to put on something nice." I'm like, "Okay," and she's like, "And blur your background." I'm like, "What's wrong with my background?" She says, "It's great, but it's not for a high-end government meeting." So to blur your back. So I was fooling around. I kept putting up like pictures, in the background, and saying, "Is this okay? Is this okay?" She's like, "No, I
Jeez,
told you to blur it." And so, of course,
man,
when
I
yeah.
thought Canadians were more lax than that. Jeez,
You know
just
what?
very
For my
uptight.
regular meetings, I'm great. Like I'm the highlight of the thing. Nobody's got the setup like I do, and they're all like, I mean, even yours, like nobody's even nearly as good as yours. Like it's all people, you can barely see them, and you
Mm.
can't hear them, and everyone's just got their little cheap. And I spent a little bit of money on this to, try to make it look good. And
Yeah, I need to do something.
you look
I'm just.
fine. Like, but I mean, I guess for Wrestling Observer, like Brian especially is very picky on a lot of stuff.
They spend a lot of money upgrading equipment all the
Yeah,
time. I can tell you that as someone who's been in the studio with him.
yeah.
You know,
I've
I
been in too.
you come back and like there's different microphones, there's new ones. It's like, well, you didn't have those for very long, but
Yeah.
then there's definitely a commitment. I mean, they sink the money into the equipment, constantly upgrading, always improving things. No, there's no question there's a commitment
Between you and me and anybody that's going to be watching this when we put it up, that's my kind of my background goal in doing something like this is I kind of want to do something like this for that group because I've been a part, a small part of it for years, and I've always wanted to do like a podcast or a video show or something on there. So I'm kind of practicing until they feel I'm good enough. But the other problem is there isn't a huge market for old white guys, and they've got some really good people that they brought in, like Denise and Andrew, and younger, and bringing in a big audience. And honestly, like personally, if I was going to recommend anybody from the group that I work with, Fight Game Media, I would actually go ahead and recommend. We have a team, and I urge you to listen to this if you ever have time. Scott Young and Keela Cash. They do a show called the Wrap, and it's all WWE. They're fans of WWE, but they're very critical as well. And they're both African American. Obviously, Keela's a woman, Scott's a man, and so they have unique perspectives that you don't always hear. And it's a criticism that I've heard of F4W. That it's there's not enough representation. And adding Denise was great.
there.
But it's great, and you hear that voice and you get to hear what they like and what they don't like. And for me, like I kind of actually I've been on their show, and I enjoy it. It's the most fun I ever have doing podcasts, honestly, is
That's
going on
great.
their
Yeah,
show.
no, I just kind of fell into
Yeah.
um, Observe. It wasn't really a plan; it just sort of happened. Um, I decided that I was doing the show um, way back, playback with Pat McNeil. I'd been doing. Fumi came to me and wanted to do a podcast because Fumi is likes to pass on his knowledge, and he sees that the kids these days they
He's
listen to the
great.
podcast. So anyway, he came to me and wanted to do a podcast, and we started to do that podcast. And I just decided that I wanted to do something on my own because I had all of these podcasts where I was doing with somebody else, and they're great, but I just wanted my own little sandbox where I don't have to, you know, check with
Mhm.
somebody or, I can just do what I want and what I want to do it.
Yeah, yeah.
So anyway, but I didn't want to pay for it. I didn't want to pay to host anything. So I was looking for a home, and I was like, "Hey, does someone want to be interested in a Portland podcast?" And Dave messaged me and said, "Yeah, why don't you bring the Portland podcast to the Observer, and while you're at it, bring Fumi." I was like, "Great."
Yeah.
And Dave, I didn't really know how the Observer worked. I still don't.
I've been working there for 7 years and I have no
I
idea.
have no. So anyway, I messaged somebody and they're like, "What? And you are,
Yeah.
and you're
I assume that
from."
was Tony.
Anyway, so it took a little while to Dave to vouch for me to,
Yeah.
that at first they were like, "Yeah, sure, buddy, whatever."
Yeah.
Anyway, so it finally worked out that I got on there and I think they heard everything and they were like, "Okay, this guy could carry an hour on his own.
Yeah.
Do you want to do Saturday?" Then I was doing Saturday, then I was doing Fridays, and then I was probably going to do more, and then I got sick.
Yeah. Yeah,
I
you
was
were
actually
doing you
doing
were on Fridays with Brian, right?
Fridays with Brian, and then
Yeah.
doing the Dave thing, and now
Yeah.
Garrett's
Well,
doing
Garrett kinda yeah, he
right.
kinda scooped
But I
you.
mean, not yes and no.
Yeah.
Garrett and Dave were already kind of friends, and Dave was already doing stuff with Garrett, so it was just kind of a timing thing.
I
I'm not
think
angry
if
about it
you
at
had stuck
all.
around, yeah.
Not bitter and pissed.
Dave would
I'm
probably
not.
just be doing more shows with Garrett on Fight Game, honestly, if you were
I don't
yeah.
care.
Yeah. And honestly, the timing worked, I guess, in a weird kind of way. Yeah,
Other
because
than me dying, yeah.
well, yeah,
Other than
when
that,
you
it was great.
when you when you started, like I was like, who's this? And
A
then,
lot of people said that.
yeah, but I heard you, I think it's great that Brian has people on his show so you can kind of get a sample and it's like, okay.
Right.
And the first time I heard you, I was like, oh, okay, this guy knows what he's talking about. The voice kind of threw me, but you've explained that. And once you get used to it, it's comforting in a way. It's like you have some gravitas. And I think it causes people to actually listen to you as opposed to like have you on his background noise. Because if you're on his background noise, you're not going to hear it. So you actually have to listen to what you're saying, which
Like
I
Jake
think,
Roberts, like a Jake Roberts bit.
yeah, I think it works for you in that sense. So
I'm trying. I'm still getting used to it. I got to figure
yeah,
out
well, I'm
what
glad.
works, but it's very funny. I was only on the torch for years, and people still didn't know who I
Well,
was.
I honestly never. I
I
mean,
have no comment about that. I think it explains itself.
well, I've never like spent more than 5 seconds on the torch. I think when Showbuzz Daily was down, I used to check there for ratings, but that's about it.
Yeah.
So
No, it was
yeah.
fun. It was fun. I enjoyed my time at the torch, but it wasn't. It wasn't a high profile situation.
So I told you it's gonna be a half hour. We're a little longer than that. So
I don't care. We can
well, I
whatever.
know, but
Do you want to talk any wrestling? Do you want
well, we
to talk
talked a
about it?
little wrestling, but
Do you want to talk about
I
my
do want
belt?
to. Oh
Or,
wow. So that's CMLL. Holy crap!
yeah,
Have you ever seen a CML show live?
yeah. I bought this at Arena Mexico.
Oh my god, that's
Seven
awesome.
bucks. If you
$7?
$7.
Oh
If
my
you ever
god.
go, if you ever
Yeah.
go to Arena Mexico,
We
here's a tip:
yeah.
go early
Okay.
because there are just tents and tents, like 10 tents, pop-up tents of merch.
Oh
You
wow.
can buy masks, obviously, and figures, cheap figures, expensive figures, like in like plastic boxes that are protected because they're expensive. You can buy expensive masks, cheap masks, T-shirts, hats, mugs, keychains, so much merch. I regret I didn't buy more merch. So go
Yeah.
early. And also, there's like it's like reasonably priced stuff.
Well,
There's
$7
like
for a belt?
right. I mean, it's a
Yeah.
kid's belt,
Yeah,
but I
but
mean,
still looks
it's
good.
still it's still cool.
I mean,
Um,
if you told
but I
me that
mean,
was like, like Porky had that or something, I'm okay, that works.
right. But I mean, it's like everything is priced for like families to go and have a nice time.
Yeah.
They're not trying to fleece you. You see like little kids in masks or families like yours, but they're all wearing like different masks and stuff. It's cool. And then there's obviously tourists that
Yeah.
go on tours. They're sitting there drinking. There's a ton of beer. Be
Yeah.
ready. Like, you don't go to the concession stand yourself. You tip people. You tip people to take you to
Oh,
your seats. Give
okay.
them a couple of bucks. You tip people to bring you beers.
Okay.
It's a little different, but it's still a lot of fun.
I've only been to Mexico twice. On our honeymoon, we actually flew into Vegas and rented a car, and we had these vouchers to go to a place called the Vagabond Inn, which I think still exists. And they had them all over Southern California and, and Nevada and everything. So every city we went to had a Vagabond Inn, and we could just book there, and it was already prepaid. And so we went to San Diego, and then we walked across to Tijuana. So that was my first time in Mexico. I was 20 years old.
Wait,
and then the second,
you
what?
took your wife to Tijuana on your honeymoon?
Well, that was part of what we did. Yeah. She wanted
And
to go.
she's still with you? Wow.
She
Okay.
is. She wanted to go. I mean, the
Wow.
best thing I bought there was a Simpsons replica shirt for like $5.
No, good. Nothing wrong. Tijuana is super fun.
Yeah.
It's your honeymoon. Wow.
Well, and we walked.
She's
Like,
a
that's the
wonderful
thing.
woman.
Yeah.
Wow.
And then the second time was just a couple of years ago, before the pandemic. We went to Puerto Vallarta,
Nice.
and that was the
Oh,
only
I
two
love
times.
PV.
Yeah.
We got
Yeah.
married in PV.
Oh, sweet. Sweet.
Yeah.
Yeah. We've been to Jamaica, Cuba, Puerto Vallarta, and then Disney World a bunch of times. So
Very nice.
next one we want to go to is Disney World, because we haven't been there since 2012.
Nice.
So yeah, and Emily's never been. So we definitely want to take her. But you know what? We got to wrap this up, because I actually got to put Emily to bed. So
right.
she might be sleeping right now, actually, in her room. But I want to thank you so much. Thanks for doing
anytime.
the Dynamite show. I appreciated
Anytime.
it. And yeah, thanks for your time. And I'll have you on again at some point.
Yeah, we can do this. Talk about something.
Yeah.
I feel like we just talked about things that interest us. So
Yeah. Well, we'll
sorry
catch up.
people are bored.
We'll catch up in Vegas. And you know what? If you ever want to co-chair on the Observer Show, hit me up. That's
whatever
my
you want to
cheap.
do. Let me know.
Yeah. All right. Cool.
I'm always around.
For Jim, I've been Grandpa Dez, and this has been Cup of Joe.